Oh, yes. Thank you. I was trying to remember who I talked to. Councilman Millsap, and the pledge will be done by Councilmember Wright.
Our Father in heaven, we're very grateful to be gathered together in this new year and looking at the prospects before us. Please bless us in this meeting and in the rest of the meetings this year, that we will have a spirit of cooperation and that we will have the best interest of the city and each other and our future in mind. This we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, if you repeat the pledge with me. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I need a motion for approval of the meeting agenda as printed.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting's agenda as written.
Second?
I'll second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we have an opportunity for public comment. Anybody want to do public comment? I don't see. Pretty light meeting, okay. Wonderful. We do have one item on the consent agenda, which is the minutes from the December 3rd, 2024 meeting. I need a motion on the consent agenda.
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
I will second that.
Okay, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, Josh, you're up.
That seems about the fastest we've ever gotten to the legislative items.
Oh,
That's efficiency in the new year. Tonight I have a very simple amendment to bring to you. In the Westfield Central, some amendments we made previously in 2024 or March or 2023 March. Now I can't remember, but that's immaterial. We added this prohibition against artificial wood textured siding surfaces, which is essentially, in this case, anything that looks like wood siding that isn't wood that has a wood texture on it. And so this is essentially the picture, and to show you that it really doesn't make a whole lot of difference unless you ask my opinion or, you know, another kind of new urbanist architect. But on the left is your smooth fiber cement board, or commonly known as hardy board. It's a composite siding product. And on the right is the artificial wood textured, where they kind of put a rough sawn cedar texture on it. And the reason that kind of neo-traditional architects and new urbanists prefer the smooth siding is because really on a historic house, the boards weren't rough sawn. They came off of a mill. They may have had some saw or mill marks on them, but they definitely didn't have this kind of rough cedar texture look to them. So it's really a visual authenticity concern. One of the builders in Westfields has provided us some evidence from their documentation from their exteriors contractor that procuring and installing the smooth siding is more expensive than the textured siding. And this provision of the code is insignificant enough that I don't want it to be a reason somebody has to spend more money on a house. Although I have very little, I don't believe that the realized savings per se would necessarily be passed on to an end buyer. It is not worth, from community development's perspective, to require this very subtle requirement in the case that it costs the applicants more money, or costs the builders more money. There are a lot of things in the Westfields that we've required that do cost more money, and we feel are justified and are important to the character of the neighborhood. While we were at that, we read through the rest of this, and there's an additional section down here that says, wood, if visible, shall be painted or stained with an opaque stain except walking surfaces, which may be left natural. I looked at that and said, I don't know that I particularly care if somebody has, wood outriggers or trim or rafter tails and they decide not to stain them. That is kind of their prerogative. Whereas where you have siding and clapboard siding should be painted or stained. But in this case, we just thought it's another kind of immaterial requirement that it's easier just to take it out because it really doesn't make a difference other than it hangs up the design review process and the construction process in some instances.
So, are we talking about this second to the last paragraph?
Yes, this
wood,
one,
if visible,
we'll
shall
take
be
this
painted.
one off. And
So if we have visible wood and it's not painted, I mean, what's visible wood?
anything you can see anything you can see on the exterior of the house.
Post or
Posts, rafter tails. If you go over right now and look at the farthest south cottage on 950 West, you'll see a number of brackets, wooden knee brackets holding up small kind of canopy roofs over windows that are exposed wood. They're basically timber framed.
So if that wood is not painted or stained, it's eventually going to weather, right? And then you would leave it up to the homeowner to do whatever they wanted to do to clean it up and make it look nice for their purposes.
Just like any
And as
other.
a city, we don't care if it does get weathered and ugly.
No more than we care if somebody doesn't paint their house.
Fine.
Because what interesting to me, in every case out here, the fiber cement board is being painted in the field, and obviously I'm out of date. I was under the impression that it used to be preferable to order colors that Hardy or some other manufacturer had in stock and would paint and bake in their facility, and then they would warranty the paint finish. But now they just nail it up and spray it. So that, paint's not going to last forever either. So to me, with the minimal areas that you would actually see visible wood that's not as listed above, not clapboard and siding, it's, even if they weather and turn gray and get streaks on them from fasteners oxidizing, I don't think it's a concern or something anybody would really notice.
Okay.
So
There's only really one builder so far that has had natural wood exposed on the outside of the house.
So, Josh, let me just talk about this first one. And I read your presentation, and let's take money out of this. Because I'm kind of like you, is that nothing wrong with the developer or builder doing this, is that I don't believe it's going to lower the price of the house, because the market determines the price of the home.
Right.
Not whether you put textured siding on or smooth
Right.
siding.
And their listing price, the listing prices on the houses from the builder we're talking about have since listing fluctuated by $20,000 up and then back down by 18,
Yeah, that's the
So-
market moving it.
right?
So-
Or something.
So my question is, if you take the money out and look at it, is this visually what you as a city planner would feel comfortable changing in the code, irrespective of cost being higher or lower?
Yes, because I don't think if I walked either of you along past two identical houses that are out there where they missed it on the first one and got it right on the second and said, okay, tell me the differences, that any of you would cite that difference to me. If it was me, personally, my preference, and if I was the ruler of the world, then yes, we'd use smooth siding. But I think it's immaterial to the public interest and the feel and character of the neighborhood.
Because I think that's what we're trying to maintain for the city is the look and the feel more than anything else. And I think we've tried that in Westfield as well as down at Lakeside. So
And I just, my former boss at Provo said, if I put the mayor in a car and drove past it and he didn't notice, I'm not going to fight about it. And I was like, oh, I could disagree or agree with that. But in this case, I think walking by it, you may not notice. So I don't think I can make a really good public interest or public safety or public good case for the smooth over the textured.
so irrespective of the dollars, you're comfortable
Yes.
with the change.
Yes.
Other questions for Josh? Alrighty. With that, I'll entertain a motion or not a motion for approval of the ordinance change.
I motion that we approve ordinance number 01-2025, amending the Westfield Central New Neighborhood Plan to eliminate the prohibitions against artificial wood textured siding surfaces and the use of transparent stain or other wood treatment.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor, a second.
I'll second.
Okay, it's a roll call vote. Mike,
Yes.
Mindy,
Yes.
Jake,
Yes.
Logan.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Lance Haight, you're up, buddy. You are here for a consideration of a a resolution for interlocal cooperation agreement.
Yep.
Looks like with everybody in the valley.
Yeah,
Is that right?
so this is a simple one. So we've been involved with the Major Crimes Task Force for decades. The Major Crimes Task Force is all agencies combined with the Sheriff's Department, and we dedicate one officer to the task force. It's a rotating position, and typically they're about 4 years. What the task force focuses on is just that major crime. So they go after narcotics. If we have a homicide investigation, they'll give us whatever resources we need and personnel to help investigate that homicide. So they're an awesome resource for the city. They have a great impact county-wide in taking a lot of a lot of drugs off the street. So the change to this ordinance is just simply extending the length of the agreement with one modification that because there are different officers from so many different jurisdictions, if our officer gets a complaint or a claim or a lawsuit against them, we just need to make sure we notify all the other parties in the task force, so that because their officer may be involved somehow too. So those are the only changes, just changing the length of the agreement and all parties' communication. If one's going to get a claim, then we have to notify all parties in the agreement. So.
Does the task force that we in the other cities help man include SWAT, or is that a different?
That's
type team?
different.
Okay.
Chief, would you say that this helps with retention of your officers? Do they enjoy being posted to this?
It helps with recruitment, retention, but also development. So our current officer, Garrett Carter, Baby G, effectively, he was here today. He looks like a trucker. He's got a huge beard, but he's an awesome resource. So he's been there for 4.5 years. Whenever we have a tricky search warrant to write, he's going to write it for our detectives or our officer, because he's gained invaluable experience writing search warrants. So his time's coming to an end, and he's anticipating coming back to patrol and promoting and sharing that. He's been really good with sharing his knowledge with other members of the department. So there's always, to be full disclosure, there's always a risk that if their time's coming up on SWAT or major crimes, and the Sheriff's Department dangles carrot out there, well, you can stay over here if you come over with us. But I don't think that's going to happen with Garrett and other people who are currently on SWAT. That's my current mindset with that. So I think it helps recruitment, retention, and also inner development of our employees. I think it's good.
Thank you.
I know this doesn't have anything to do with this, just out of curiosity, with SWAT. I brought it up, you brought it up.
Yeah.
Do all the departments help man SWAT as well, or How does
No,
that work?
It's voluntary, so I don't believe Mapleton doesn't send anybody over to SWAT. Provo and Orem have formed their own SWAT unit, Metro. We have 3 officers that go and train with SWAT. We have 2 corporals. No, they're all corporals. Three corporals that are on the SWAT team now. And they get great tactical experience and training, and same thing as they're going to bring that knowledge back to the department. And anytime we have a major incident where we need SWAT, then we call that SWAT team, and they respond. So
Very good.
There is an interlocal agreement associated with it, though.
SWAT, yeah.
The SWAT.
Mm-hmm.
So on this, you're extending it to how much more time?
I believe it's 2029.
And is this just the one officer who's with them that whole time, or do some of our other officers also rotate
On
in and
major crimes, and then we have one of our corporals assigned to the set team that does more local things.
out? Okay. But we still get to we use that resource, Officer Carter,
Oh yeah.
very much.
I was stunned with fentanyl.
Fentanyl's
Oh, yeah.
on the rise big time, and it's super dangerous. Actually, they've had fewer fentanyl overdoses just this current year, and it's because the drug dealers are putting less fentanyl in the drug supply, and there's more.
Killing their customers?
Well, no, they're putting smaller amounts of fentanyl, lower concentrations, so that they got to take 2 pills instead of 1 to get the same effect, but it's
Oh.
resulting in less overdoses. And then also, all of our officers carry the fentanyl overdose
Naloxone.
antidote. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, but fentanyl, confiscating the pill, thousands and thousands of pills are getting confiscated there.
We went from 57,000 to 779,000 in 1 year.
It's
Wow.
amazing.
Okay, other questions for the chief? All right, entertain a motion then.
I'll move to approve resolution number 2025-01 and the amendment to the interlocal cooperative agreement relating to the intergovernmental program known as the Utah County Major Crimes Task Force.
I'll
I-
second.
Okay, it's a roll call vote. Logan,
Yes.
Jake,
Yes.
Mindy,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, chief. Appreciate that. All righty. Any other items that need to be brought up? Okay, we didn't set a record, but we did pretty good tonight. I think the record was 9 minutes, wasn't it?
Since we have just a minute,
Sure.
I just thought of something I'd like to ask Josh. Do we have an update on the Allens block? We get a lot of, I mean, I guess I shouldn't say we, I get a lot of questions about it.
The site plan approval remains valid, essentially for about another 4 months, unless they make progress on the building permit they submitted. The engineering team has reapplied for approval of the plat, which expired, the approval of the plat previously expired, and they've reapplied for that. And that is based on, that is as far as official actions and statuses go where we're at.
Demolition permits, didn't they apply for a demolition
They
permit too?
started an application for a demolition permit in the early summer, late spring, but never completed that permit. It was just an open file.
So
Okay.
4 more months, and then they have to reapply, basically?
If their site plan approval expires, then yes, they would need to reapply and start again at the site plan process and would be subject to any changes to the codes or new requirements that have been imposed by the city in the interim.
And this is related, and maybe the chief can weigh in on this as well, is the goings-on down there in the parking lot, particularly used car sales. Is there something we can do about that? I mean, it's just terrible, and it grows and grows. Is the property owner allowing that? Are they charging for it? Do we have some sort of ordinance to stop that, or?
As far as I'm aware, the property owner is not proactively engaged in the day-to-day of the property on an actively.
So do we have ordinances that would,
That's a
yeah, that's why I'm asking Chief, maybe Troy or somebody else to weigh in. Is there something we can do about those cars being parked there? It's just such an eyesore anyway, and that just
Yeah.
adds to it.
Well, I'd have to look. It is actually a parking lot, so cars can park there, and there have been cases where cities have tried to stop having cars on streets that say for sale, and on First Amendment rights, that was actually a case that a city lost because you can't really stop somebody from what they put on their car. And so this is kind of an interesting situation. Let me look into it a little bit more with Chief and see what we can come up with. But I don't know if there's a whole lot we can do unless we have something in the code that says you cannot park in a parking lot for longer than 24 hours, but I don't think we do.
Yeah, and I think we've talked to the owner who's indicated nobody has permission to do it, but they've also not posted signs nor blocked the accesses to it. So I'm happy to reach out to the owner's representative as well on this and see we're kind of getting tired of it and see if they can be more proactive.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And that would work because once they post something, then we can help and act.
Would that also stop the food trucks from going in there and running their business?
Well, if they block the entrances, yeah, then nobody can go in there. So
Do the food trucks pay to be there, or they just get to chill? Oh,
Yeah.
They don't have to have a business license?
the
But they-
food trucks
they
do, but they don't have a business license from Springville. They could have it from somewhere else. So over the last, I don't know, 5-7 years or so, food trucks have been able to
Run their business.
legislate, and yeah, a lot of good laws have been passed for food trucks, to where with the ability for us to govern what they can and can't do has been lessened significantly.
do we get any of the taxes from that?
We are supposed to. Yeah, we're supposed. Well, the tax situation is actually kind of interesting. If the place, because they're supposed to have kind of an office place as well. If their office place is in Springville, we do, or if it's a special event, we do. So it's kind of a different taxing mechanism
Yeah,
for
we
food
should be-
trucks.
We should be doing pretty well there actually because they're also required to have a commissary or a physical kitchen. And that's actually become a big part of Lemonade Sage's business model. So we have a lot of food trucks based out of Lemonade Sage.
And that's what I meant by kind of their office place. Yeah.
Very good.
Okay, other items? Yeah,
Can I ask a
Mindy,
question?
please. Uh-huh.
Brad, what do we know what's going on for the 6 South light? Yeah, by the condominiums? Have they done traffic study on that area? And they feel like that would be a good place for a light?
Where's this, Mindy?
South on Main.
Yeah, yeah. And you, go ahead and finish your,
Oh, no, I'm just by the condominiums that
Yeah,
are
yeah.
right there, and that already backs up from Mapleton, from people going down to 4 South in the morning, so I just, a light would definitely, make that backup be longer, is all. I just wondering, how they feel that their traffic study would not be. Okay.
is there any update on a light by the T-Bone coming down from the Evergreen Cemetery? But the signal wouldn't. Yeah, I'm just thinking about safety. Yeah,
How much does something like that cost?
But isn't the middle part of that road county road? between the two railroad tracks?
It is.
It is.
So we would only widen the little tiny section that's.
Well, we would only widen within probably the first, maybe maximum 100 feet from the intersection itself. We wouldn't be going up to the first set of tracks at all. There's too much elevation gain, and
Okay,
we have to do a lot of work to do that. But in between the tracks, yes, it's the county.
okay.
One other question, Brad, just sorry, or since we're on these signals. You know, going up, I don't even know how to describe it. Going up the hill to Mapleton, just before Evergreen, the turn, there's a signal there. But if you come back north, there's the intersection where 4th East comes in and Evergreen and the road, we call it the Marchbanks Railroad Crossing. I mean, there's just a maze of intersections there. What are your thoughts or UDOT's thoughts on, because that's pretty exciting if you really want to get your adrenaline going, is trying to cross that,
It is.
you know, and you have to be looking at 100 different directions. And Mike and I are getting old enough to where we turn toward Mapleton and just go through Mapleton.
Yes.
So anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Any thoughts? Because I know that they made that 4th East into a right angle, which helped, but
Actually, the city requested that many years ago.
right.
To slow people down coming off of Mapleton and getting 4th East about 50 miles an hour. So that was done by the city. The one thing that UDOT is considering, and we've been working with them, is if you're going up towards Mapleton, you hit that stoplight at 1600 South.
Right.
Right after that, you take a right turn, get off onto 4th East, and then, I'm sorry, not 4th East, yeah, it's 4th East.
It's
The Evergreen.
Evergreen Cemetery.
Yeah.
No, it's not Evergreen. Is
We-
it continuing Evergreen?
Well, it goes in front of, on the east side of
In front
Evergreen.
of the cemetery.
Goes between the cemetery.
Between the two
If I can just pull
lots.
this up really quick.
Sorry.
No, that's okay, because I think it'll help. Here we go.
Craig Jensen were here, he'd be just stomping on my foot so he can go back and see his movie.
Well, while he's pulling that up, I was going to mention that and since what you just said, this is actually a part of your agenda. And most councils over the years have used this effectively to get questions answered like this, but also to talk amongst yourselves about things that you're doing individually, say in SUMA or the Solid Waste District or at the Art Board to keep the rest of the council apprised about your other assignments. So this is something actually I would strongly encourage you to do much more regularly.
Okay.
So,
Yep, that's it.
this is where we, on purpose, turned the road so that you can't fly down from Mapleton and hit this at a high rate. In fact, when we first put in, we had a lot of complaints because I had one guy come in and say, I can't even go around that with less than 20 miles an hour, or more than 20 miles an hour. And we said, perfect, it's working. That's what we wanted. And so that's what we did there. So then moving south again, then you have 1500 south, which is, part of the maze, and you have here. But the real thing that we're looking at with UDOT is eventually, with this signal, if 16 south goes through and connects to 16 south over here, this becomes a major intersection. But the thing they're looking at now is where this road comes in, and it's so close to the signal, they actually had a fatality here.
We've had a couple.
Yeah. And so UDOT came to me and said, would the council be willing to close this intersection? And I said, no. I kind of spoke for the council because there's no other way for these
No way
people
out.
to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what we did look at is since this part of the cemetery isn't put together yet and there are no graves there, I suggested to UDOT if they assisted building a road through here with a connection here, we could turn this into a cul-de-sac and it would affect, 4 houses. And so this road would come through and then these people would have a way to come out in such a way that there aren't any cross streets here. It's away from the signal and it becomes a lot safer for all parties. They're looking into that right now, UDOT is.
Brad, and I'm not an engineer. If you did that coming out on 1800 South, aren't you still a complicated crossing trying to go north? You know, you still have to
You'll have
cross.
to cross the lanes, yeah.
You'll have to cross the lanes.
Yes.
But But it is one lane though. It does narrow down to one lane where.
Oh,
the
that's true.
south
Yeah,
is.
instead of
So
four.
it is shorter, but shorter lanes to cross, but at the same time, it's on a hill, a grade. So it's, you know,
This
I
is-
don't
Hard to
know.
see.
And these people coming down are coming down really fast from Mapleton, so.
And the nice thing if this road came in is it would turn and come in perpendicular, just like we did at Fourth East. We'd bring it in perpendicular like we did down here, to where it would come into a perpendicular entrance,
Which would slow people down going
which slows
south.
people
but
down. But what it does is it gives them an opportunity to look both ways. And with the signal being here, the nice thing about the signal is signals make spaces.
Right.
And so your traffic that's coming towards Mapleton, there would be gaps enough to where you could probably safely, much more safer, cross over and go south or northbound as you would want to go.
yeah.
So we're still working with that. Stacy's aware of it as far as the cemetery. We kind of said, let's not put graves in there right now. UDOT's looking at it. But basically, I've kind of put it in their court and says, UDOT, you better make a decision because first time a grave is put in there, the deal's off. And so they need to move on it. And they're aware of it.
It's
And I
just,
Sorry.
no, I was just gonna say, it's just a lot of complicated roads in there that,
Yeah.
I lived in that area and people hate where the crossing is right now. So I think they'd be
This
much
one here?
happier with the 1800 South one.
Hmm.
Yeah, because that one's so hard to get and turn
Well,
south.
it also doesn't come in at 90, so if you're going here and you have to look way back
Way
over your
back.
shoulder to see,
Yeah.
we bring these roads in at 90, so you're just you're looking just either way and not over your shoulder to try and see.
Yeah, it's definitely better. That is a unique and weird spot because people fly right there because they've just passed all the other people. They're either coming on the right and flying around and whatever, but I think it's a much better option than the other.
okay,
I
thank
think you
Brad.
spoke well for the council, Brad.
I didn't think that would work.
Okay. Anything else that needs to be brought up or items that you'd like to talk about? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment then.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you.